comfortability.
Thank you, Paris. Fantastic answer. That's exactly what it is, right? It is the situation in which we feel the most safe because the things around us are predictable. Okay. It's a situation where we feel the most safe because the things around us are predictable, right? We know what's going to happen at our job tomorrow. If you're working a 9 to 5, you can go to maybe your relative's house and you know exactly any given day of the week what's going on over there. And you don't even have to schedule, right? You could pop in any day of the week and you know for a fact that such and such is doing that. The other person's down there doing this. Like it is legit been the same since you have been a kid. How many people can attest to that? That there are people that you know that are in this comfort zone. Al Bundy, for those of you who are my age or a little older, Al Bundy used to always desire to sit in the groove of his couch, right? He'd sit down, put his hands in his pants, and that would be where he rested. And how do you get a groove in the couch? Is because you sit in the same place so much that you wear out the space you've been sitting in. Wow. Okay. Side note, I'm in my other life, I'm a preacher. So, you may get a whiff of this every now and then. So here is, this comfort zone that you're in. And often we think of the word comfort as something that we desire, right? I desire to live a comfortable life. And that's not the comfort that we're talking about. We are talking about this comfort zone where growth is stifled, right? Where the ground is no longer being nurtured and toiled, where you can look out and nothing's changed around you simply because you don't think anything can change or should change. You have not been inspired for change, or you fear change, or you lack humility and don't believe anything has to change, or you lack inspiration and don't desire to change to impact others, right? So this is where we talk about this desire to get out of the comfort zone. And so I want to kind of go through that here. So when we talk about the comfort zone, we've kind of already ran through it. This is where we feel the most safe because things are situated the same pretty much. How do we then move past that? Well, we got to take some risk, right? So the next stage is going to be the fear zone. And when we enter the fear zone, this is where we do something different. This is where we're desiring to do the meaningful work. But this is also the place where those lies start coming in. This is where the ego gets attacked. We talk about the ego in society, man, your ego is sensitive, blah, blah, blah. Let me give you a real quick definition of the ego so we can kind of have some clarity on this. When we talk about the ego, it is the foundational story that was birthed out of our childhood that we subconsciously work to keep in order. Okay, so let me make that make sense. Okay, I promise I'm gonna get back to the fear zone. I want to park here for a second so you guys understand what stops us from moving forward. When we talk about the ego, what we're saying is that I was a kid and I was trying to show my mom or dad how cool I was when I was doing this. And every time I would try to show them, they never had time for me. So I built the story within my knower and within my psyche that I wasn't worth their time. So then as I got older, I started to then create this hardened, feeling and belief around my identity that when it comes to, me being special, people don't have time for that. Or let me play small because others aren't willing to acknowledge me. So that's the story that I've now created around my life. And so your ego is constantly trying to always protect itself from that story changing. It's so funny. This is why we sabotage the great things that are happening in our life. This is why we get in the way of that, because there's this discomfort of getting away from our ego, right? So for those who are dating, you may know that, man, I've been dating Pookie and Ray Ray for the last, 10 years. And I'm wondering why I don't like the good guy, the guy that, has his stuff in order, who is safer. It is because there's this identity that has been hardened that you're always working to protect, because that's who you are. You're used to that. You're used to the groove in the couch. So when we talk about the fear zone, the one thing that constantly goes on is we're talking to ourselves saying, that's not worth it. You don't want to move outside of this space that you're in. You don't want to take that chance, because if you do that, they're going to reject you. Don't you understand that? Don't you know that when you try to do something different than your family, you know how it is. When you were a kid, they said you couldn't do it. So now you can't do it. Or you're trying to do something because you want to do something that makes you feel beautiful, but you've been told all your life that you weren't beautiful, and now you believed it. So now every time you go to kind of get yourself jazzed up to be beautiful and to feel beautiful and to feel better about yourself, your ego gets back to telling you that's not it. That's not who you are. That ain't it. So just calm down, tone down. Don't expect much out of that. Okay. So this is the fear zone. This is where you may be deciding that, hey, I do want to change. I do want something different, right? I do want to do, something different than everyone else has done. But the minute you step outside of that, you start looking for other people's opinion, because that's what acknowledges that maybe you're moving in the right direction. But the problem is that they also push you away from getting out of your comfort zone, because we know that when you start moving, you are a reminder about how stagnant they are. The minute that you start moving out of your comfort zone, everyone around you that's still in their comfort zone is going to hate the fact that you're moving, and therefore their opinions are possibly going to be more negative. Okay. So they may desire that you live a happy life, but just not happier than them. They may desire that you make money, just not more than them. They may desire that you take the vacations, but just not a better one than they've taken. Because when you move, you then keep them you put them in a mindset of, oh my God, I haven't changed in years. I haven't moved in years. Nothing has changed around me. Wait a minute. I haven't taken a vacation in years, since 1997. Wait a minute. I still make the same amount of money as I did 20 years ago. And she doubled her income in a year. So what happens is that the easiest way to keep you in check is to get hated on, is to be rejected, is to be reminded that you ain't all that. That's the easiest way that people can keep you right where you are. Okay. So I want to talk about something. I want you all to write this down. Okay. I want you all to write this down. We are going to talk about the 4 statues of fear. All right. The 4 statues of fear. I want you all to write this down. Okay. It is better to have I was told, of course, we're in a new age. It's better to have a long pencil than a short memory, right? But I guess it's better to have more notes in your phone than it is to try to remember it all. That saying doesn't sound as good as the other one, but it's 2022, so it's different. All right, so we're gonna talk about the 4 statues of fear here, okay? And so what does that look like? This is the most common limiting beliefs that hold us back, so that we don't do the best work that we're supposed to do, okay? Now, some of these may be easier to spot and some are kind of a little bit more sneakier, but all of them tend to whisper in our ear when we're ready to make a new move, all right? So all of them are willing to make this loud cackling sound in our ear, because now we are trying to get out of that comfort zone. We've been inspired. We've seen somebody make money. We've seen this person with the same skill set as us, go on to make millions. We've seen somebody, with the same talents, gifts, and abilities go on to live a happy life, through and throughout. And the thing is that I'm ready to get out of that comfort zone, but man, this fear thing is what trips me up. And this is what tripped up my entire family, my entire life. Every time they tried to do something, they didn't give it their all. And why did they give it their all? Because the seeds of doubt started creeping in. And so the number one statue here is going to be fear of failure. The fear of failure. Okay. So everyone knows this one because it's the easiest one to identify. Like, it sounds like this. What if I'm not good enough? What if I can't make this work? And the thing is, like, fear of failure keeps us from ever starting. Who can attest to that? That the fear of failure keeps you from starting. Okay? Like, it's debilitating. It legit will put a pause on your greatest ideas. It will put a stop to the effort you were ready to make. Because of the idea that I identify with, that I'm not good enough, if the story that I tell myself when no one's around is that I'm not good enough, then the idea that has been given to me can't be birthed because I don't believe that I can conceive it. There are, I imagine, and I speak of this sensitively, for some who can't, maybe birth a child, right? You've been told medically, maybe you can't, or maybe this issue maybe runs in your family, or maybe you're older and whatever it might be. But because that has already been told to you, I would imagine that it's very hard to overcome the idea that you're going to try, right? That it's been told to you that, for those of you who even play sports in high school, if someone told you over and over that you're not that good, you're not as good as the other people, then showing up to the tryout is terrifying, right? If the coach told you that, hey man, I don't think you're as good as the other kids, I wouldn't even show up. Well, you showing up almost puts you in alignment to fail. I don't know many people who want to do that. Okay. So that's our first statue. All right. When we talk about failure. Number two, the fear of ridicule. Now, this kind of goes hand in hand with what I just said. If you ever let what, critics or what they think, I'm talking about like these people, y'all know who they is, your friends, your family. And when I tell you, I'm talking about your family, I'm talking about your mama. All right. I'm talking about your mama. I'm talking about your daddy. I'm talking about the people in the world, social media, right? These are the critics of the world. They might say, whatever they say, and it stops you from putting yourself out there and doing the meaningful work. How many of y'all wanted to go live on Instagram, but you were terrified of a couple of things? One, that you weren't going to have enough people to join your live. And so you thought that might be embarrassing. So you decided you didn't want to do it. Or you didn't think your content was good enough, that it was substantial enough, it wasn't funny, or the information might not be right, or somebody's doing that better. So you decided that, you know what, I'm a pass. I don't want nobody saying nothing about me. And you've been stewing and ruminating on this forever, and you've never started, right? What if people judge me for doing this? Like, what if they don't like it? And that fear of ridicule, like legit, it tricks us into staying small and never taking chances. But right now, how many of you guys know that when Bobby took the idea of creating a group like this, that he didn't start with maybe this number of people in the room? Like, he took a chance because he believed in himself, and he understood that if someone was to come on the first day, and if he had 3 or 4 people in the room, they might be like, man, I knew he wasn't gonna have nobody. I knew he wasn't gonna get nobody to come and pay for that. Like, I knew it. Like, he ain't never did nothing. And had he stopped there, you wouldn't be here. You wouldn't get the mentorship that you needed. You wouldn't get the community that you needed. So you needed somebody to take a chance on themselves. And so I promise you that there's somebody in this world who is waiting on you to take a chance on yourself, because you are linked to their freedom. You are linked to their freedom, right? If you don't take the chance on yourself, then they don't get the information, they don't get the story that freed you, that can free them. They don't get the testimony, they don't get the knowledge, because you're playing small, because you're scared that somebody's going to say something about what you're doing. You see how that's like, you've been given a task in this world, and it's not an individual task. It is to truly put society in a better space. And that may mean you're the president. That may mean that you're impacting just your family. But the fear of ridicule will keep you stuck and dying with the access, dying with the keys to other people's access to their dreams. The third statue, fear of uncertainty. Okay. This tells us that we don't have enough information to move forward. And it says things to us like, okay, I don't know which decision is right. I don't know which direction I should go in. Okay, I'm uncertain, so I'm not gonna move. And this is where we get paralyzed, right? I don't know if I should, go with the business or stay with the 9 to 5. I don't know if I, should invest in that or save my coins. We're always seeking more information, more info, more resources, more answers. And that keeps us in a state of paralysis over analysis, right? And so we stay in this constant state of trying to figure out, is it safe enough? And so it's just really just fear. All right. The fourth statue is the fear of success. Now, to me, this is the worst one because we deny that it exists. Okay. It's the fear of success that holds back more people than the fear of failure. Like, how could we be afraid of achieving the very thing that we say we want? Because most of us believe that success is either black or white, right? It's either before and after. It's never current. If we've never achieved success, we only know the before version of ourselves, right? But then after we get the success, then the whole idea of it feels kind of weird and alien, right? So since we're more familiar with where we are now, we constantly self-sabotage to stay right where we are. It's a comfort zone. To live in this world we understand. We want to understand the world because that's we can kind of control that. So achieving success represents jumping out there, crossing this threshold that we don't understand. And that's scary, right? Like, what if I invest, in that house and in property, and man, and I actually sell it. Now I got the money. Like, what should I do? Okay, like, or what if I don't know all the next steps? So I'm gonna kind of chill. I know that I got the money to invest, but I don't know the next steps. Like, I don't know what to do in that situation. So this statue looks like this. If I succeed, will I lose my ambition? Will I lose my drive? Like, will I lose the thing that drove me to get here? What if achieving success means that that's it? Jay-Z said, is this what success all about? Right? Like, he understood all this stress. All I got is this big house, couple cars. I don't bring half of them out. Like, he was saying, man, like, to reach this pinnacle of success, is this all it's about? Like, is this all I got? Like, what if I can't balance this new responsibility, these new people looking at me, depending on me? That's scary for people, that people are going to look at me and really desire for me to have answers, to, create this payroll. Like, that's a lot of responsibility. And so this tells us that yes, exactly, Edgar, exactly, that there's a fear of becoming a completely different person if we succeed, somebody we don't recognize. And as this person, now maybe that means I become stagnant, or maybe I become corrupted by power and I don't have ambition. So this fear, it just tricks us into abandoning the projects we want to take on. And we can be right there close to victory. And I'm telling you now, that people will sabotage their victory because they don't want to understand the feeling of winning. It sounds so weird. They get right to the finish line and they find a way to sabotage it because it's an unfamiliar place. There's a lot of people who are even dating. I'm going back to the dating thing. who have found the guy, found the girl. It feels so good. It's like, my mother would love this person, but something about it ain't giving me that edge, that chase. And so if we want to understand that, then let's go into this. So how do these pillars disguise themselves as self-sabotaging behaviors? Number one, the most common self-sabotaging behavior, the most common way that we self-sabotage is through procrastination. It's through procrastination. The busier you stay, the more productive you are, right? You take on all the projects, you say yes to every opportunity. You're a control freak and you keep it all to yourself. You spend all your time putting out every little fire that pops up. You spend hours always going through your email, checking your text messages, having 100 priorities, never take any responsibilities off your plate. But then you have a great idea and it's like, I don't know if I want to do that. And you go back to all this task-oriented stuff. If you never finish any of your tasks, you'll never risk failure or success. Another way we self-sabotage is through perfectionism or imposter syndrome, right? How many people struggle with perfectionism? Who struggles with perfectionism? I want a couple people to come off of mute and let me know, what does that look like in your life? And if you struggle with imposter syndrome, or if you don't understand what that is, then let me know that too. I want to know who struggles with perfectionism and what does that look like? You guys can come off mute for a second as well.
It says so they can come off mute if they'd like to.
If y'all want to come off mute, if you want, let me know. Y'all can just pop off mute, raise your hand, whatever you can do.
I think from my perspective, part of perfectionism is being stagnated because the supposed finished product, I believe, like a person like myself, I criticize it before it goes out. And I criticize it so that it'll never come out. So like you mentioned before, we could consistently be doing like a video for Instagram and trying to put something out, but not liking it to the degree that it never comes out. So we spend so much time on it and it never comes out. And it's like, well, I guess I just won't even do that.
Okay. Thank you for your transparency. Anyone else?
Yeah, I've been pretty much ready to take this test to become a flight instructor, and I've been working on it for like 2 years now. And every time I'm getting ready to take the test, I just never pull the trigger because I don't feel like I'm ready enough to do it.
Let me ask you a question, Edgar. And this may be an example for those. And Edgar, if you want to answer, that's fine. If you don't, let me know. Could you say that there's a part of your family of origin or your own personal story in which when you didn't do well or you didn't do the best that your parents thought you could do, that you were heavily criticized as a child? Or love and attention was cut off from you because you didn't do something perfect?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So that's typically where this stems from, is that as children, and for you parents out there, I want you to watch this. And this is a hard thing to watch because you expect a lot from your children, is your children who have it in them to do great things. So what do? We actually push them more, right? So we push on them even more to the degree that when they don't get it all the way perfect or do the best that they can do, you question them or you get a little bit upset. So then what ends up happening is they start to feel like, well, do I got to be perfect to get your love? Do I got to be perfect to get your affirmation? And so as adults, that turns into, we don't want to take risk. Like if I take a risk and it doesn't work out, then there's a chance that I will be, pushed away, that there's going to be a negative opinion in my circle. Maybe my friends won't like me. Maybe, people won't think the best of me. Like, one of the things that we always desire to be is admired. We want to be admired. Okay. And we know that there's a risk that we take of not being admired and actually thought of negatively when we take a risk. So we rather situate ourselves into being perfect, because who are you to build this? Like, you don't have enough authority or enough intellect, or your product isn't ready enough. You're unqualified, right? Or your competition is so far ahead of you, like you'll never catch up. Like, so what's the point of even trying? Like, you should just wait until you feel ready, then you won't have anything to be afraid of. But how long have some of you been writing your book and it still isn't published? How long have you been thinking about building or doing that project, but you still haven't even started it? How long have you thought out every situation and scenario and tried to create the perfect plan, and even that wasn't enough? I want you to remember this: progress over perfection. Progress over perfection. You will learn more and move further when you actually get yourself out there and do it. Like, if you write the book and 7 people like it and 3 hate it, that means you're going to get feedback from 3 people who are going to tell you why they don't like it. Right? Like, that's what's going to happen. And so the thing is that you have to remember is this. You have to remember at the end of the day that if you sit down in your seat and you just keep it all to yourself, you learn nothing. You make no money. You don't gain a mentor. You don't gain people who can help you. You gain nothing. You stay in a silo, and that's where you're stuck at. All right. Next, complacency. All right. This is where too many entrepreneurs create this golden handcuff situation, and they're willing to stay shackled than to face uncertainty. Okay. Most people would rather choose this path that leads to, this predictable misery than the one that offers a chance of a better life. You would rather stay in the job you hate than to try to stretch yourself to something that you don't even know of, right? We're creatures of habit. We like to know what we know, and we don't want to take no risk, okay? So we gravitate towards what we can anticipate. We gravitate to what we can anticipate because uncertainty is terrifying. Staying in your comfort zone keeps you from uncertainty. Staying in your comfort zone keeps you from uncertainty. So now, and why am I spending so much time on this zone of fear? Because when you get out of the zone of fear, that is when everything is pretty much at the peak of the roller coaster. Because now you're going to reach certain levels that you can max out in. But most of us get stuck in this zone of fear. And it's not a totality of your life, right? Like, your entire life isn't, you're stuck in this zone, but it could easily be, hey, I fear trying to lose weight, even if I'm a risk taker in business. I fear, trying to work on my finances, even if, I'm great in this one area. Like, it's not a totality of your life, but it is specific areas that may be holding you back from becoming the person that you want to be. And even for myself, when I think about, this idea of fear, I have this fear, and it's a weird fear, right? And it's not even like something that I can even necessarily grow in. Here's what I'll tell you. When we were moving down here to Atlanta, I moved down here in January. One of the things, of course, was I was excited at the opportunity of moving here. And I kind of knew that I would make some great connections. I would, create a new energy, and, some of the things I wanted to do, would be able to take hold a little bit easier. And so as that time was approaching, do y'all know that fear started creeping up on me? That I started thinking, I don't know if this is the right city. I don't know if, this is the right move. Should I stay close to, like, all these ideas that had never popped up until it was time to make the move just suddenly showed up. And then I'm starting to ask my wife, like, are you sure like Atlanta's it? I'm thinking, you're gonna move to LA. What about, North Carolina? Like, and suddenly all these places that we never even thought of started popping up, because the idea of doing something different was about to keep me stuck. And we realized that we needed to push through the atmosphere. When a rocket is going in, in outer space, the hardest part where the fire starts burning on the actual space on the rocket is when it's going through the ozone, when it's cutting through the atmosphere. Because to get to the next layer is where the most fire is. And so we knew that we had to jump out and really move. And once we moved, it was still difficult. But now we're over the hump. Now we got to make it work. And so for everyone that knows that they got to make it work, then go make it work. Jump out there and take the risk. Like, go for the opportunity to fail, but you're going to fail forward. You're going to give yourself the chance to learn from it. All right. So, all right. So now I really want to kind of move on to these next zones real quick. All right. So, but I want to give you some strategy. All right. So first, here's one strategy that we're going to help protect ourselves against these statues. You're going to assume naturally that your worst fears that can come true. You're going to assume that whatever it is you're fearing is going to come true, right? There's a project you want to release and you think is going to suck. All right, assume that that's true, right? What about that project is what about that failure is something that, how are you planning on dealing with that? How do you plan on dealing with that failure? Okay, so you failed. How will you learn from the experience? What do you need to do differently next time? Now, when you guys start thinking about it this way, I guarantee it's going to free you. Okay. So if you got that fear of failure, how will you learn from the experience? Or you're going to figure out, what do I need to do differently next time? And when you think about it in hindsight, what mistakes were avoidable? Like, how can I make sure that those things don't happen again? Where did I take the risk and when I shouldn't have? Or how can I avoid those risks next time? What resources did I not take advantage of that could have helped me succeed? Okay. If you have the fear of ridicule, this was a big one, right? You're getting backlash. People are hating on you. People got so much to say. Okay. So now what's your strategy? Will you, ask for feedback because feedback's an opportunity to grow? Will you jump in front of the story that people may say and get in front of it? Will you turn failure into a new feature, right? Are people criticizing you because their opinions are worth caring about or they're not? Like, you're never going to be able to please everyone. So are you focused on pleasing the right people? Because in business, your friends aren't always your customer. Most of the time, they're not. So are you focused on your friends and the people that you know? Or are you focused on the people who need what you have? Because when you're focused on the people who need what you have, then you understand that you need to talk to them, figure out what they need so that you can grow, right? Because if we keep thinking about our family, well, they got a lot to say. And then think about where they are and do they qualify to have the opinion on having something to say outside of I'm your mama, outside of I'm your auntie who changed your diaper. Like, you're not even qualified to provide an opinion about what I'm doing, right? So that's up to you about how much stock you give that, okay? If you have the fear of uncertainty, right? You're scared to take this risk and making the wrong decision. So now think about it. What information did you need that you didn't get? You took the risk. So what information now, looking back on, did you need that you didn't get? You took the risk and you moved past something. And now you're like, man, I was so uncertain. I didn't know what to do. How realistic were your expectations? Did your expectations, were they way out there, past what they should have been? Were they realistic? Were they not enough? Because sometimes our expectations may be too small where we actually don't do enough to make the thing great, okay? Going after the right bits of information. Did I talk to the right people? Was I in the right rooms, right? So we're trying to pursue progress, not perfection. If you have the fear of success, fine. Watch this. You succeeded, right? You sold 10,000 copies of your book, right? The business launched and it hit a home run. Whatever you said you wanted, you achieved it. Congratulations. Now, what's on the other side of success? And I want you to paint a vivid picture of what post-success looks like. Because the more concrete that is, the more you can protect yourself. because now you're already future oriented. You already seen what you want to see when success happens. So now do you become complacent and lose all motivation, right? Or are you realizing that, yes, I have won in this space. So now how can I take it a step further to impact more people? Can I hire someone and pull them off their job and come work for me? Can I, become more charitable or philanthropic now that I have this successful business or whatever I'm doing? Can I double down and create this opportunity even further, right? And how will I continue to grow and challenge myself? How will I ensure I don't let success get to my head? Who can I talk to make sure that they're already bigger than me, whatever they're doing? I talk to them to remind myself I ain't all the way up yet. You have to do whatever you have to do to keep that engine going, okay? Any questions so far? I do want to ask some questions in the way. Any questions so far? You all are always free to come off mute. At least when I stop talking. Any questions so far? All right. So I'm going to go through the next zone. So right now we talked about comfort zone. All right. And first off, I should have talked about the other zone, the mediocre zone. This is where we're just surviving. We're stagnant. Like, right. We're almost dead in the water. We're stagnant. Then there's the comfort zone. Okay. Then there's the fear zone. We talked about that just now, went through it. Then there's the learning zone. And this is where it gets good. This is why you're in this group. This is why you're here now, because you're now ready to get your knowledge updated. You're updating your software, your mental software. You're dealing with the challenges of whatever you're going after, right? You are ready to acquire that new skill. You're ready to change the attitude in which resonated in your family, resonated with you forever, right? You're willing to do something different. Your family has always said that we don't do that. That's not us. Those people got the money. We don't listen. People like us don't own houses. You're willing to say, to hell with that. That's not my story. That was your story, right? Everybody failed at what you're going after. Nobody had the degree. I'm going to have the degree. You're willing to say, I am willing to now extend past what made me comfortable. I'm willing to take on that fear of the unknown. And now I'm willing to learn. Okay. And once we get into this learning zone, now we're able to get into this growth zone, because now we understand what it is that we needed to know. We've got the new skill. So now we're going after purpose. Now we have a clarity for the future, what we want to do, right? We can see crystal clear exactly where our lives are going. And now we know, okay, it takes this energy, it takes that to do it. When my wife and I, we've constantly been around the space in which we're doing business in it. And essentially what we do is we work with educational institutions, businesses, and we provide mental health resources and counseling and coaching. That's what we do. We've concretized it, and this is what we do. This is our bread and butter, and it works for us. And the minute that we zoned in on that purpose, like the doors of finances opened up for us, right? But it was zoning in on that purpose. It was having clarity of the future and having this vision. This is our growth zone. When I tell you that we are in the season of expectancy, we are in the season of expectancy. So in this growth zone, we consolidate our efforts. We're not just shooting our arrows at every idea. I promise you that if somebody came to us with a brand new idea, suddenly we wouldn't be that interested all of a sudden, because it may take us away from what we're working on. Baby, am I right? All right. So when I tell you that we are so focused on this, that there's nothing else that we desire right now. But to make this baby blossom into an 8-figure company, to be known around the world, to be impactful to every minority that we can think of, to Black people, providing them jobs. But that took us to get out of the zone of fear. That took us to acknowledge that we didn't know enough, in which then I go back to school to get my master's degree. You know, it took us to read more. It took us to ask the right questions from people that would leave us vulnerable. Some of you know that you're not even willing to ask people certain questions because you believe that would make you vulnerable to the opinion that you don't know something. And it is in your inability to acknowledge you don't know something that is leaving you stuck. It is your inability to say that, hey, I need to learn that from you, a person I've known, a person that probably thinks I do got it all together. It is you that I need to learn from, but I'm so scared that you're going to judge me because you probably believe that I knew it already. So now I'm either stuck between keeping this thing between us or between whoever, so that I can always kind of have like, I'm a part of the crowd, knowing that I need to learn from you. I need to be humble in this season and sit at your feet and learn from you. So that's the learning, that's the growth zone. This is the breakthrough zone. Let's go to another level. How many people know that there's a level after level? There's a level after level after level, the breakthrough zone. You're sheerly optimistic, right? You got the insights, you understand exactly where you are. This thing is rolling on autopilot all of a sudden. You've learned new skills on top of the skills that made you successful, right? You've learned new skills. Jay-Z was a fantastic rapper, right? He's a fantastic artist. Suddenly, a new competency of being a great businessman added on once he was out of his growth zone. Now he's in his breakthrough zone. Now he's hitting peak performance, okay? And once we're out of the breakthrough zone, we enter the stage of miraculous, right? We feel we have reached the highest level of it's called self-actualization in the Maslow's hierarchy of self-actualization and needs. This is where, we feel like we have hit the target of our mission on earth, right? We are in the flow. We are helping humanity. We are so past ourselves. We haven't thought about our bills. We haven't thought about ourselves. Matter of fact, we're taking care of our family to some degree. Whatever we want is coming effortlessly. Like, we got the connections, every idea is starting to work because we have created so much synergy around our life that we're so zoned in and targeted on this one thing that we can't even miss in this season. Does that mean, you get what I'm saying? Like, you get to us, and I'm not there. I'm not even there, but I understand what it looks like. And so now I know what I'm shooting for. Okay. So I want to know if you guys have any questions. Let's talk about everything that we talked about here today. I want you guys to hop off mute. I want to see your faces too. I would love to see our faces. But I want you guys to hop off of mute and let's talk about this. What did you take from this? What were some areas of struggle that you have? Let's talk.
They can go ahead and start raising their hands.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, they can start doing that if they have any questions.
All right, Jenny, you can go ahead and go first.
You're on mute.
Thank y'all for letting me come off mute. Sorry, I'm driving. Honestly, your call, I think I was on one of your calls before, and your call was very informative. Let me say that first and foremost. I enjoyed the conversation of the call because these aren't topics that we have every day as a people to understand a lot of things that we don't realize that we are stressed about until someone brings it to our attention. Like, we always say that we're okay. In actuality, we're not okay. Something is hurting us. Something is bothering us. Somebody has wronged us. And we've been just good people. And it's just, we don't acknowledge that a lot to get past stuff. And I really enjoyed the conversation on everything you were sharing. And that's very good. I don't know if you are licensed within your field of what you do, but you pointed out so many fun facts about just life and things that it was just great. I have to tell you that first and foremost. Like, we just don't call out things for what they are. We just hide them and bury them, and then deep down inside, that is nothing for us but just put a Band-Aid over it and never address what's really bothering us and what's really taking our focus off on us getting to the next level in our lives.
That's fantastic. And I would
But
agree
my
with
question
you.
is, I just had to say that, but my question was, you know, it's like being a newborn baby. How do you get over all of the hurt that you carry from within that has been inflicted upon you?
So, first off, thank you so much for your question, and I'll do my best to succinctly answer that. We're talking about hurt. I mean, of course, there's varying degrees of, what we mean by hurt. That could be, from our parents, that could be from a significant other, that could mean from the expectations that we've had of ourselves that haven't been realized. So there's there's a variety of things, but I think overall, the first point of getting past hurt is acknowledgement, right? Is understanding that, there's something that is not allowing us to move forward. And a lot of times when we're in pain, we get stuck. And, I mean, many of you know somebody who's been through something and they're still stuck there. They still talk about it. It still keeps them, bound. And they're stuck in that place, right? So we have to acknowledge where we are, but then we just need to start doing the work, right? We need to start doing the work and being honest about what happened. And then also at the same time, putting some effort towards ensuring that we're not in that same space. And how do we do that? We go to counseling, we journal, and we start unleashing those feelings so that they're not just ruminating in our head all day long. And when we start writing them down and we start doing the work, then we're less triggered by them. We're less agitated by them. We don't have as much anxiety around those things. But it is when people keep them to themselves, that's where we get stuck. And we start feeling like there's no way out of this. And the reason is there's no way out is because you haven't created an exit. And so I know that Loren Santana says they want to add some encouraging words.
Did you want to take Sandra's question real quick, and then I can pull Lorenz up?
Yeah, let's do that. Well, first off, Jenny, did that help? I want to make sure that we're in the same pocket here. Did that help?
Thank you for unmuting me. I was like, I can't answer. Yes, that did pretty much, that helped, and that just made things clear, because like you said, that's the first step in healing, is acceptance. So yes, that did answer my question, because you're absolutely right. You can't acknowledge if you don't, make the statement for yes. So you did answer the question. Acknowledgement.
And also, the one thing I also leave you with is a lot of times when we go through something, we're willing to acknowledge everyone else's role in that. But I want sometimes to fight towards where did we play a role in that, or whatever happened. And it may be 0.5%, but can we acknowledge somewhere where we might have played a role in whatever happened that caused us disappointment, hurt, pain. And it goes back to, what I talked about before, is the expectation too great for that person? Was I not aware enough? Was I too optimistic? And what can I learn from that moving forward? Because we know that history repeats itself when we haven't learned the lessons of the past. But thank you so much for your question. A great question. Sandra.
Thank
Hello.
you.
Yes, ma'am.
Hi. I loved how you were talking about the 4 pillars of fear, and something that just struck a nerve with me is I feel like my point that I'm stuck in is the fear of success, which sounds weird, but I think it's just the programming of seeing family businesses fail. And I think I already play a huge part in my family's what they consider successful, or just the kind of the person that like brightens the family up, just with the things that I do in life. And my question is like, what type of mindset books would you suggest that help with like reprogramming your mind around getting out of that mindset, really?
So the mindset of what? Fearing success?
Yeah, like yeah, just reprogramming some of my thinking around success. I guess the fear is that once my business takes off and it's successful, I'm going to have to help a lot of people in my family.
Okay. Before I give
Or they're
you,
going to look to me for help, like, and that could be very scary.
okay, I'm curious. Before I give you the book that I'm thinking of, what what is the fear based around? Is it based on that you're not going to be able to do it to the level that they expect?
Yes.
Okay. Is there a truth to the fact that you are not going to be able to help everyone just because you can't?
I don't think it's about not being able to because I can't. I think it's being taken advantage of,
Okay.
having to like say no, and that ruining relationships in my family dynamic.
And so in saying no, is there a in saying no, often people feel that there's a fear of rejection that may last longer than is necessary because they've said no. But on the flip side, what I've found is that people who don't say no and don't create these boundaries often feel overrun and can end up not really respecting themselves because they've given so much away.
Mm-hmm.
So the question would be maybe, what side would you like to live on? I don't think you can play the fence on that. I think that, boundaries are healthy for everyone.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you're teaching your family how to treat you, and in the end, they will grow to understand, because what we kind of can do as people is this. If you've heard of codependency, what we do is we believe that if we don't stop helping, then people can't make it.
Mm-hmm.
And so then in an effort, we think that we're the hero in the story, right? So if I say no, that means I'm going to let them down. They're not going to be able to do what, they need to do. They're not going to be able to sustain and maintain. And it's like, at the end of the day, if I keep helping them, they'll never learn. So really, I'm doing them a disservice, but I'm getting the credit as the hero.
That's good.
And so, I think in the end, playing the hero is a very, very short-term deal. The book that I want you to look into is "You Are a Badass." Is by Jen Sincero, and she has a host of books that are very, very good. Very, very good. She really speaks very candidly on these topics as well.
All right. Thank you. Appreciate it.
All right. Anyone else? I love y'all questions.
I think Lorenzo wanted to add some words. You can go ahead and unmute Lorenzo.
Lorenzo and the Benzo.
What's going on, y'all?
What's up, brother? How are you?
Doing good, man. I just wanted to tell everybody just keep going. Like no matter what they going through or how they're feeling, just find your reason to really, just keep going and just achieving your goals. Like no matter who's supporting you, who's not supporting you, to do it for your future self. And your life will be 1,000 times greater once you start actually taking care of yourself, actually worrying about your physical health, your mental health. Like just start worrying about all those things and taking care of yourself. And, you know, that'll lead you to being happy and where you want to be. And also like just get clear on where you actually want to be. Like, you know, write that stuff down. Like I made a list a month ago of everything I wanted and like what I wanted to buy, where I wanted to live at, you know, just simple things like the way I wanted to eat, everything. And looking back on that list right now, the only thing I didn't achieve on that list is moving to Houston, because I was debating on whether I should like, you know, actually move or not. And then I looked at, I was like, yo, I accomplished everything on this list in a month. I was like, let me just go ahead. Let me just go ahead and move. I live by myself right now. I'm like 21, and you know, moving. I live in New York right now. Moving almost across the country is a little nervous to me. I'll be by myself, and you know, things like that could be a little nervous. But I wrote it down, so I'm gonna be intentional about it. I'm gonna just actually do it. A couple months ago, like I was just worrying about making money, and worrying about making money wasn't really making me any money. You know what I mean? And once I started worrying about actually helping people and helping myself, then I seen, you know, the money was just coming in. I didn't really care about it. It didn't change what I was going to eat for dinner that day, but it made me feel good. It's something I enjoyed doing. Like, you know, I help, you know, people with their business. That's something I enjoy doing. Like I'll sit with you all night and figure out your business problems. You know what I mean? It's something I enjoy doing. It's something that makes me happy. So just, you know, just find what makes you happy and just go ahead and do it, man.
Thank you, brother. I would agree with you. That it's also important. I mean, you got to think there's a lot of people who can pay you to do a lot of things, but they can pay you $1 million. And if you hate exactly what you're doing, it won't matter, right?
It won't matter at all.
You had to clean out sewers by hand. I can guarantee you that that's not going to last that long.
Nope.
You know what I mean? So you're exactly right. I think you have to do what you love. And even if the money doesn't come, the joy will come. The happiness will come. The feeling of being in purpose will come. And after that, because you're living that type of life, the money inevitably will come.
Exactly.
I would agree with you, man. 100%. Thank you for sharing.
No problem, man. That's all I wanted to add.
I'm curious, you know, did anyone feel like they got something, you know, from this that they needed tonight? Did you feel like you got something from this that you needed tonight? Any confirmation, any that you were challenged in the right area that is going to move you forward? And I would like to know what is that thing, because you guys are on the call and you know, there's a good number of you. And I'm curious, you know, because I want to make sure that, you know, we're in the right zone. I want to know what is it that you got from this? And yeah, I want to know. I'm curious.
So what you want them to raise their hand again or come off mute?
Actually, they can come off mute. And
all right. Kiana, you can set that so they can come off mute.
It's set. I set it and reset it. You can try it now.
I guess I'll say something again. I think that the 4 pillars of fear was really good, and then kind of just like mapping out the fear zone, the learning zone, and then like really diving into your purpose. For me, it helped just like goal setting, you know, intention setting. So definitely in the learning zone, working my way towards the purpose zone and really honing in on that. So I felt like this message was right on time. So thank you.
Yeah. And, you know, to your point, you know, I think it's also just important to know based on, you know, these attributes where we are, you know, we can think that, you know, we're in a place that we're not yet. Right. And we need that challenge to continue to move forward, or we need to understand that, hey, I am showing up, you know, to these meetings and that's something that I've never done before, right? And what I've noticed that can definitely happen is you'll be like, how I'm trying to do this new thing. I'm showing to the meetings and I'm showing up every week. And because that's something new for you, you can easily get stuck right there feeling good about yourself, but not taking action enough to make change in your life. This is the person that, starts new, businesses and falls in love with making the business card and getting the logo, but actually never does anything to get the business going. And so it's good to know that when you're looking at these areas, where am I on that chart? Am I still in a comfort zone, even if it feels like I'm taking a risk? Am I in the fear zone? Even if, I feel like I'm not. I need to know where I am so that I can set strategy in order to move forward. Because nothing will drive you, more crazy than thinking that you're moving forward and looking up a year from now and you're still in the same place.
That's the word.
But if there's not any more questions, I'm going to turn it over to Bob. Yes, hey, Paris.
Hey, I had a quick question or comment. So I feel like everything you said was spot on, especially in terms of procrastination because of perfection. I feel like that's something definitely that I struggle with, but more so, I wanted to know about, because you talked about self-sabotaging. So right now I'm kind of like in a season of where I don't really want to be on social media, but I used to be really big on social media. Social media is, where you get business and blah, so on and so forth. But I just really just in a thing of like, I don't really want to be bothered. I just want to be to myself. I want to focus on me. And I just don't want the pressure. I don't want, anything to do with it just right now. But I also want to be mindful that that's not me sabotaging myself. So what would you recommend? I mean, it's probably like, you probably don't maybe not even have the answer for this, but how do you identify where, you're on a healthy break, but then it gets to the point where it's like, okay, like now you're sabotaging because like, you need to get back because, the people are looking for you and, you had a good thing going and so on and so forth.
I don't even know if we can call that necessarily sabotage, because to some degree it's just inaction. Like you just know that there's a step that you're not taking that can move you forward. But I don't think you're purposefully trying to sabotage your effort because you're nervous. I think there's just
No, well, yeah, but it's weird because like, like I have mentors and stuff that I've gotten for social media, and like different people that look at me and they're like mentors, and they always like make the comment that, you're not being consistent, or, you just lack consistency. And it's just like, it kind of pisses me off because it's like, you guys are saying I'm not being consistent, but you don't know my life. Like I'm consistent in like other areas of my life, like with my diet, with my fitness. So it just irritates me that, people put so much pressure on like social media. And it's just like, I just don't want to do that right now. And they would say that I'm self-sabotaging, but it's funny to hear that from a therapist standpoint, that therapist is saying that it's not sabotaging. So
what is your business? What do you do?
I do a lot. So I do credit repair, but then also like, I'm like financial literacy, and I teach people marketing, branding. So like people, and then, I'm kind of like an entertainer and stuff. So like people look at me for like advice, entertainment. I empower, I motivate, people get hyped up off my content. And so, but it just like, it could be very draining sometimes. And I just want to put me first in this season and not, it's like, I notice a lot of people, I've been seeing like a lot of YouTubers bring this up, like they just wanted to take a break because you kind of like start to like fall out of love with it. And I feel like I kind of like have done that. Like I really do not even have a desire to be. I used to love social media, but I don't even want to be on Instagram. It's weird. I don't know.
Okay. So I would say that number one, I think you would have to probably understand your business. Number one, can my business survive without social media? Let's just start there, right? If my business can survive without social media, then I need to probably create some strategy that allows me to do that so that I'm not stressed out about being in that space. Now, if your business can't survive without social media, then I think there's just some hard decisions that you have to make. But remember, you don't have to do everything in every season. And it sounds like to me, when I'm listening to you, that you may be spread thin a little bit, that your hand is in various, entities. And it sounds like you might be just a little bit burnt out from having to do so much, perception building. Social media can be draining, especially if it is not a good fit for your personality. I think that there's just some decisions and questions that you have to ask about your business and about the viability of your business sustaining without social media. And if there is a chance that you need social media, can you take a break to restore or get someone else to maybe manage it so that you're not necessarily involved in the day-to-day? A few people said, if you read here, pick your favorite thing to do and specialize in one thing. I think there's a such thing as healthy breaks for your mental when it comes to social media. If your business is dependent on, so yeah, exactly. So we agree on that. So I think that's probably the plan that I will put together at the end of the day. Hello, Candace.
Candace has a question.
Thank you for that.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, I'll jump on real quick. So
Oh,
I
wait,
think that
real quick, Devin, I had Candace, just raise your hand.